Hello and welcome to Tax Matters. My name is Olumoyiwa Matuloko. We strongly believe that it's still fit and proper to wish you Happy New Year. Yes, this is our number 2 episode for 2012. The number 1 episode came to you earlier in the year and we did wish you a Happy New Year. But then the fuel subsidy removal brouhaha prevented us from coming to you for 2 weeks. So after 2 weeks lull, here we are. We thank God Almighty that we have our country back and that we have you. What are we going to do on today's episode of Tax Matters? We're going to bring you great moments on Tax Matters in the year 2011. Highlights of the episodes that came to you in 2011. Thank you for joining us.
Tax man, now you sit down. How long you thought you go take bring the tax clearance certificate for me?
Oga, once you give me the money, the tax clearance certificate go ready now.
Now?
Yes, Oga.
Oga, wait, make I bring the money.
Wait. Agent for Federal Inland Revenue Service? This one a Wururu person. Come for here. Guy, forget all these Wururu people. Go any Federal Inland Revenue Service office where they near you. Go collect the original tax clearance certificate. To know the original tax clearance certificate, the tax certificate must get FIRS watermark. It go get signature on top of the FIRS seal, and the name of the tax office where they on top of the certificate must they correct. No print, no give, no even collect fake tax clearance certificate. FIRS don't want say anybody we then catch with fake tax clearance certificate, now jail straight.
For more information, visit www.firs.gov.ng or any FIRS office close to you. FIRS, it pays to pay your tax.
Welcome back. What we're about on this episode is to bring you great moments on Tax Matters in the year 2011. The first episode of the year 2011 was just like this one, devoted to highlights of our presentations to you in 2010. And we immediately followed that thereafter with 3 episodes devoted to the 26th Omola Ole Management Lecture Series, which was delivered by Mrs. Ifekomogu Okaru, the Executive Chairman of the Federal Revenue Service. We'll bring you highlights.
When we all sat down in the Vision 2010 committee in 1996, we thought it was a long time. And here we are today talking about Vision 2010, living witness to the year. So the truth of the matter is that 2020 is actually just around the corner. It's not as far as we think it is. And so even as we talk about 2020, we actually should start thinking ahead. 50 years from now, 100 years from now. Because our vision really should be that long term. 2020 is too short a period to really envision the kind of country we want to be. But it's a start, and it's what we're going to be talking about today. Then we need to start working hard to get there. Vision 2020 is just a milestone. No country can beat Nigeria if we resolve to work together. None. Somebody was describing a country in Africa where even the concept of selling is not in their culture. You want to do business, it's not in their culture. They trade by barter. Fact. In Nigeria, we are natural businessmen. You don't need to teach us. The Esusu culture, the Ashebi culture, even those selling Ashebi want to make money from you. So the grounding for an entrepreneurial culture is there. And when it comes to creativity, no one will doubt that we have it. We have displayed it in so many different ways that some people are scared. But we should look beyond it and say, what is at the root of some of the things that people do not like? Creative minds. If only we can get it right. And we've done it in the entertainment industry. Even then, we're not there yet. But imagine the upswell of interest in Nigerian music, in Nigerian film, not because people like Nigeria. They cannot help it. If you happen to travel and you happen to bust into somebody in a taxi who comes from another African country, who is an African living outside Africa, what are they talking about? Our film, our music, our football. So you look at all these different, what you may call, ingredients. The weak link is cohesion. The weak link is focus. And more importantly, the weak link is discipline. I'm not here to talk about Vision 2020 in the general sense. I'm here to see how tax can play a role. And I'm sure other sectors can also play a role. But let me focus on taxation. If there's one sector that cuts across every single individual, every single entity, it's taxation. One way or the other, it touches us. And that's why we really need to get our tax system right. In discussing taxation, the 4 R's always come to mind. One is what we always tend to always remember, revenue generation. But it's not just about revenue generation. It's also about redistribution. It's about repricing. It's about representation. Representation, which is the historical basis for taxation, and states that taxes are imposed to assure citizens of representation in the governance of society. The overall focus of taxation has therefore always been to provide resources for the development of the economy and improving the well-being of citizens from which these taxes are collected.
During the question and answer session that followed, the guest speaker shed more light on the topic.
Tax is not meant to cripple the economy. Tax is not meant to not encourage competition. In fact, it's supposed to encourage competition. So the challenge is how to make that policy real. Because even just listening to what we've said today, I can see a direct link between some of the thoughts that we have and what we have contained in the tax policy. So I think the challenge is to make that tax policy operational. For example, one of the things I mentioned, which I'll just reiterate, one of the key debilitating forces with industry today is the issue of multiple taxation. There's a legal part and there's the illegal part. Just even removing the illegal part would drop the cost of doing business. Studies have shown that it puts us so much above other countries in terms of the competitiveness of our goods, either within the country or outside the country. Now, what is the challenge of multiple tax? Multiple tax is a multi-headed challenge. So it's one thing to say we are against multiple tax. The law says you shouldn't have multiple tax. But the more you look at the issue, you know that multiple tax is a symptom of a larger problem. It's a symptom of arguments over, like what somebody said, what kind of federalism should we have? It's a symptom of people feeling that what is even in the Constitution is not being implemented. Local governments feeling that they must get their own revenue because state governments are not giving them revenue. State governments feeling that the revenue allocation formula should change. And so because of that, certain things should be done at the state. So multiple tax actually, in a sense, represents so many different issues which all need to be addressed. Because if we don't address it, it affects the competitiveness of industry and it affects the cost of doing business. So that is clearly on the agenda and we need to look at it. In the last 2 months, several meetings have taken place. And I think the challenge for each and every one of us is to see this clearly as a major agenda issue and to take it to logical conclusion.
Earlier on, before the question and answer session, there was this interesting postulation.
And I tell people, you want to do business with another organization, check his tax clearance certificate. It tells you a whole lot about the person or about the organization. There's a direct correlation between an organization that pays his taxes on time, diligently, and whether he would deliver. If you are looking for an organization that will work within a particular timeline, check how he pays his taxes. So we need to begin to even link tax to us as individuals and as organizations. Somebody comes to you, says he wants to do a job for you. He brings his tax clearance certificate. He tells you he's done this proposal, that proposal, he's done this work. He brings you pictures. And then you check the turnover. He says it's 100,000 naira turnover. Hey, what does that tell you about that person? Do you trust him? We need to get to that point.
I agree in toto, don't you? Then follow the story of the colloquium on taxpayers' money hosted by the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies at the University of Lagos on Wednesday, January 19, 2011. Excerpts.
Members of the community, if they are not confident about the custodian of the the payment of tax itself, they cannot entrust their money in the custody of such a person. So whoever is coming as a political office holder should submit himself or herself to the following restrictions: that there shall be no bodyguard for any political office holder in Nigeria, and I will tell you why. You wonder why you go around as citizens without bodyguards and you have no problem? It is because you are in possession of nothing in respect of which you should fear anybody. If it is known, for example, we are talking about jumbo pay. What is wrong in paying a governor or a senator the same salary scale that normal human beings collect? Nothing is wrong. Even America, the countries we are talking about, even America, professors earn more than senators. We can begin to experiment the same here. There will be no need for any bodyguard. I remember when I got to office, we were giving policemen, and I told the policeman that you may be the reason why the armed robber will attack me. Don't stay. And I've been going freely since then. So if you do not earn more than necessary, there will be no reason for you to fear. Number two is that you must not leave your residence. If you were living in Ajegunle before election, you must remain in Ajegunle. It is only by staying in that environment that you can be realistic about developing the environment. The third one is none of your children nor any member of your family can patronize any other school except public schools. It is only by doing that you will develop the schools. Number four, you cannot patronize any private hospital. It must be a government hospital. These are realistic submissions, because it is only when you know that this is the same hospital that I will patronize that you will be bound to develop such hospitals. I want to say that members of the public are not afraid to pay taxes. People pay for services. When they see the services, they pay.
I live in an estate which is fairly well organized. Some years back, the people from the local government came and said they wanted to collect tenement rate. And we said, yes, it's very good for you to come and collect. But what have you done here? No road, no light, no water, no security, no environmental control, absolutely nothing. Let's meet in court, where you'll be able to claim your money and we'll be able to vent our feelings. They never came back because they did not want the publicity, and the estate is populated by highly educated people. We know the law, we know the facts, we know we ought to pay, we are willing to pay, but it will be an opportunity for us to say, hey, excuse me, you to do your bit. They didn't come back. Which meant that they appreciated about this symbiotic relationship, and that this social contract is not only about me paying.
That was January year 2011, precisely January 19, 2011. And listening to those comments, you have the impression that the comments were taped in 2012 during the fuel subsidy removal. You get my drift? Or what do you think? And then these responses from the top table on the matter of refusing to pay taxes or asking for services before taxes are paid.
deliberate tax evasion or refusal to pay can be an option for dealing with dissatisfaction about what government is doing. I think it shouldn't be. Because if it was, then what Prof is saying will just lead to a breakdown of the system. As it is now, government has the discretion to take tax from everybody and decide that we will not do your private estate road, we will do Ikorodu road, or we will do some major highway, which all of us will use in the end because we don't just stay in our estate. So government will prioritize spending.
To use the example that, because this is not done, that's why I don't do my part, then we're just really, waiting for anarchy and waiting for this system to just collapse.
From the 3rd to the 4th of February 2011, the Central Enlarged Management Meeting of the Federal Revenue Service was held in Abuja. This great proclamation was one of the high points of that event.
The work that we do as tax officials is extremely important to our development of our country. And that's why sometimes when people ask you, what is your job? My job is not a tax collector, no. My job is not a tax administrator, no. My job is to provide funds for the development of this country. My job is to ensure that teachers get paid so that we can educate the future, today's generations and the future generations. My job is to ensure that the pay for teachers is commensurate with the kind of work we expect them to do. My job is to ensure that we give a living minimum wage. My job is to ensure that we can provide for a minimum quality of life. And that's why when we say we need to raise revenue, why we say we need to review our processes as the management and staff of FRS, why we say we need to bridge the compliance gap, why any revenue out there that is collectible, we must collect. We cannot reduce what is collectible because we are shortchanging the development of this country. That is why we do what we do. That is why our vision is to be the pivot of national development, and it is important that we live this vision.
Talking about jobs, in that same month of February, precisely on February 14, which is now commonly marked as Lovers' Day, the Federal Revenue Service showed another side of itself, that it is not just about collecting taxes, about taking and taking and taking, but also about giving. The management of the Federal Revenue Service directed all its 8 regions across Nigeria to go out on Valentine's Day, February 14, and show love to the underprivileged, to those who, for one reason or the other, could not get up on their feet to celebrate Valentine's Day. And that was exactly what happened in Lagos. First port of call was the Living Foundation Orphanage in Oniru area of Victoria Island in Lagos, where Mr. Joseph Osage, the tax controller of the Victoria Island Integrated Tax Office, led the FRS delegation. The Lagos mainland delegation of Federal Revenue Service staff was led by the regional coordinator of the Lagos mainland, Mr. Ezra Zuberu, and it visited the National Orthopedic Hospital, Igbobi, the public relations officer of the hospital, and the assistant director of nursing, as well as other top officials, were on hand to receive the goodies on behalf of the patients. Episodes 8 and 9 of the year 2011 on Tax Matters were devoted to the visit of the University of Lagos chapter of the Nigerian Universities Accounting Students Association, NUASA, to the Federal Inland Revenue Service formations in Lagos. It was a mutually beneficial encounter.
The government is beginning to have what we call the political will to prosecute tax offenders. Since this reform started, we've started, and many people who have been caught on the wrong side of the law are being convicted.
I want to chip in this. I've actually discovered that the people that are working, the working class people, they tend to come